Hi everyone, and welcome to today's Drama Hospital recap. As always, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of our videos or recaps. Let's get right to it, because this week is a lot more exciting than I expected it to be, and that's a nice surprise. So at Casa Corinthos, Sunny seems to be hallucinating Morgan as a child, but turns out he was dreaming, like they were playing hide and go seek, and he couldn't find Morgan. I'm pretty sure the kid that they had play Morgan is the one who plays Joe from Modern Family, but I'm not sure. It's just something I thought. So if I'm wrong, let me know I'm wrong. Or if you don't care, just, it's fine. But Nell wakes him up. So Nell tells the story of how her best friend died, that her best friend wanted to go home. They were at like this party and Nell didn't want to leave, so her friend, instead of riding home with her like she was supposed to, got a ride home with a drunk driver and wound up dying. And she's like, you know what, never mind, it's not the same. She'll get out of his way. And he's like, no, he wants to talk to her. He says he saw Morgan, like, as a little boy, and that Morgan was saying, Dad, come find me, and Sonny couldn't find him, and I was like, maybe some foreshadowing to him coming back, maybe? So Nell says that she's happy to keep him company, and he's like, I'm fine. And she says, he doesn't have to go through this alone. Jason and Christina called. A lot of people care. And he says if he can't be with Carly, he wants to be alone. And then he says he's sorry for her loss, and she's sorry for his. At Nathan and Maxie's place, Nathan's still in shock from finding out Charlotte isn't his. Maxie has Charlotte in headphones listening to Frozen, so that she doesn't have to be subjected to the obnoxiousness that is her mother. So he doesn't understand the point of Claudette lying, and Maxie thinks that Claudette wants him. Like, that's the whole point of this. So Nathan is questioning Maxie's test, and he's like, no, like, I'm just, like, he's trying to reconcile how two tests of the same thing came up with different results. Whose hair did she give for the test? More at 11. So he's going to leave. Can Maxie watch Charlotte? And she's like, well, I guess if you're leaving. And Nathan is going to go see Griffin. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is heating up to just some hot mess ridiculousness. At the Metro Court, Evan, the tool, seems to accept Hayden's counter proposal, and Tracy thinks that Finn should go to Mercy because, of the coughing, and he doesn't want to. And Tracy is like, well, I think they'll do better than my water treatment of just giving you water. And I was like, oh my goodness, that's like how I treat sickness, except it's water, and it's also, can I get you ice? Like, it doesn't matter. You could be coughing, you could be bleeding out. I will say, can I get you some ice? That's just what I do. She can attest to it. She just hurt her neck 2 seconds ago. And what did I say?
Can I get you some ice?
Just the universal, it works. I also have a giraffe. I'm actually looking at right now that you can heat up in the microwave. That I need to get our new microwave, but you heat it up in the microwave and it's a warm compress. So I can do both. I can do warm and I can do ice. I'm just 8 years of medical school has nothing on me. Tracy, Finn sees Hayden and Evan leave, and he's like, why? Why is she going with him? This is ridiculous. And Tracy's like, well, if Hayden's going upstairs with her date, why is that a problem for you? So she tells him to intervene, and he's like, no, I can't, because, like, nothing would happen afterwards. And she's like, then don't. And he's like, but you just told me to. She's like, I don't care. I really don't care what you do. I'm on the side of not intervening, but I want to see you happy. And then that she tells him to focus on a cure, because then he'll have plenty of time to figure out his Hayden stuff. So Finn sees the room number on the check that Evan left, and then he goes to the room and seems to bust the door down. Why? Why are you doing that? And we'll come back to that a little later. So Ava and Obrecht are having drinks, which was weird. I think they just wound up at the same place at the same time. Like, I don't think they planned that. So, Obrecht, think about it. She was at Claudette's room that same day that Claudette magically had that hair. Could it have been her hair that Claudette gave as a DNA sample of Charlotte's hair? We'll see. So, anyway, Obrecht, and you think I'm just saying anyway, but I literally wrote anyway. I just want you to know that. So, Obrecht is talking about how Morgan's medication failure is the reason he died, and, it obviously wasn't working right. And Ava's like, yeah, I mean, it's a tragedy that could have been avoided, but oh well, we'll never know. And Obrecht's like, nah, have you met Carly? She's gonna want answers. And Ava's like, well, she can't do anything. Like, there's nothing to be done. And Obrecht's like, sure, she could do something. She could have Morgan's medication tested. And when it turns out it was wrong or that something's up, Dr. Maddox is gonna, like, be sued for malpractice or, you know, even worse since Sonny's involved. And so Ava's like, I have to go for unrelated reasons. And she calls Scott. She tells him where her will is. And she says she has to deal with an urgent matter that she might not come back alive from. And I'm like, what? Whenever I leave the house, I'm not like, you know, I'm going to go somewhere that I could die. Like, just don't do it. Like, I don't know. Whatever. Because even if they, first of all, Morgan's medication, like, he threw medication out the floating ribbon. I hope they find that. Like, I hope that's the one they test. But anyway, like, even if they test the medication, like, there'd be no way to prove it was her. Like, yeah, she was in the same room, but still, like, you know, she can take enough measures now without actually going back to the scene of the crime, in my opinion. But, you know, whatever. It's Ava. What are you going to do? So then Obrecht gets a call from Maxie and heads over to their place. Back at Casa Corinthos, Ava shows up, because why wouldn't you? She wants to see Avery, and Sonny's like, no, and I'm like, yeah, tell her, do not let her go upstairs. But Ava's concerned about her, and she says she's sorry about Morgan, and Sonny's like, hey, you were the worst thing to happen to Morgan, don't say his name. So she says that Julian's world, that whole world is behind her, and she's a better person now. And I'm like, yeah, of course. And he's like, yeah, you're a saint. I was like, oh, Sonny, same wavelength today. So she says she'll take Avery to, you know, help him out. And he's like, no. And she asks where Carly is. Is she in Morgan's room? Because that's not healthy. She shouldn't be in Morgan's room. And he's like, no, she's not here. And she's like, oh my God, did Carly leave you? Oh, and I was like, don't even pretend you care. So he just says that Carly isn't here. He doesn't expand upon it. And she offers up her advice, you know, for Avery's sake. And she tells Sonny to hold on to Carly, you know, even if he thinks he's lost her, go back to her. Like, you can't lose each other, you know, for Avery and for Morgan. And I was like, ooh, you want to go upstairs so bad right now. Like, that, I mean, her complimenting Carly in any way, shape, or form is just like desperation at its finest. For Ava, whether you're a fan or not, you got to admit, her complimenting Carly might be a sign of the apocalypse. So in Evan's room, remember Evan the tool? So before he gets his door knocked down, Hayden and Evan are in his room, and she has him drink. And I was like, oh, girl, I see what you're doing. So Hayden wants the money up front, and he's like, oh, you girls always want your money up front. And I'm like, dude, how many times have you done this? But then, you know, I saw his personality some more, and I didn't need that question answered. So he's going to go get his checkbook. So he writes the check, and she wants to deposit it immediately, because she ain't no fool. But he wants her to uphold her end of the bargain. So then, next time we see them, Finn is knocking down the door, and wait, you know it, Evan is passed out on the floor, and she strategically had him over drinking, in case you couldn't figure that out, and she wants to help getting him on the bed, and she's like, you know, I gotta make him think we, like, you know, that I uphold my end of the deal. And then she shows Finn the check, and he's like, what? So she only made Evan think she'd sleep with him for money. Prep school boys always think they can undress. Well, it kind of works, but they think they can outdrink her. But she was born with a glass of rosé in her hand. And I was like, I love that line. And so he helps her pick him up, very reluctantly, by the way. So she tells him to cash the check while she's setting this whole thing up. And he's worried about her, because what if this guy had drugged her or forced himself on her? And she's like, well, that didn't happen. By the way, how'd you even find me? Like, did you follow me? And he's like, I found the number on the check. And she's like, well, why were you looking at the check? And he's like, oh, I'm just worried about you. And she asks why any of this matters to him. At the boxing rink, well, Claudette and Griffin seem to be getting along very well. They're in public, but that doesn't seem to matter to them. And she didn't, well, see, Claudette, she made the mistake of looking a gift horse in the mouth, and she wouldn't just shut up and let things happen the way she wanted them to. And she said, no more searching for something greater than ourselves. I'm right here. And that made him back off, because he can't do this anymore. And I was like, see, why talk? Why ruin it? So, well, I'm glad. By the way, I'm glad that whole thing didn't go down, because she, like, he's I love him too much for him to get mixed up with her again. Because I don't like her. And does anyone like her? Like, just a genuine question. Sorry, that sounded really judgmental. I didn't mean it like that. But I feel like they brought her on just for, like, a mutual character for everyone to not like. So does anyone like Claudette? I'm just putting literally, no judgment. I'm just interested. So she's, like, literally whining for him to be with her. And Griffin brings up Charlotte, and Claudette says she's better off with her father. And then Nathan comes in, and he's like, except I'm not Charlotte's father. Griffin is. And Nathan figured it out, that it was his mother's hair, that she took it out of Obrecht's hairbrush when Obrecht went in to watch the videos of Charlotte or whatever, that she had the hairbrush in her purse. And Claudette admits it. And by the way, I have a hairbrush in my car, so it's not totally out there that she would have a hairbrush in her purse. But anyway, so Claudette admits it and says she's sorry. And then she tells Griffin he's Charlotte's father. And I was like, my God, I can't. Remember, like a really long time ago, before One Life to Live and All My Children got taken off the air, and like General Hospital had like almost no like kid, or I mean I shouldn't say almost no, but I felt like not every storyline revolved around a kid or something like that. Remember that? We had a lot more with like the teenagers and like and remember that? Like I feel like we could be seeing some really great things with TJ and Molly and all that, but we're just so wrapped up in other stuff. But anyway, I digress. So where was I? So she still needs his help though. So she took a gamble that Nathan would love Charlotte, and Griffin says like, you even said you wished that she was mine. And I was like, I'm glad you said that in front of Nathan, because that was a really terrible thing for her to say, especially if like she was Nathan's. But anyway, so she says that she didn't want to put him in Valentine's line of fire, so better put Nathan in Valentine's line of fire, I guess. So then she asked Griffin if he wants to meet his child, and I was like, this poor child like has met 2 fathers in one day. Like, you know what? Just Nathan and Griffin raise this child together and just put Claudette, you know what? Claudette will take care of her. Like, seriously, at this point. Back at Nathan and Maxie's, Maxie wants Obrecht to watch Charlotte, and Maxie tells her that Charlotte isn't her granddaughter, that Claudette lied, and Obrecht is going to make Claudette wish she was never born. And Maxie's like, cool, bye. And now end scene. I know, we're already at the end scene. So Hayden says that, you know, Finn, he wants to live. You know, he doesn't want to just exist. And then I think the alcohol is starting to catch up to her, and she kind of passes out a little bit. Nathan comes back with Claudette and Nathan. That's not right. With Claudette and Griffin. And Obrecht is at the apartment, and she wants answers. And Obrecht tells Nathan that Maxie told her everything. And Maxie had to go do something urgent. Maxie's at Claudette's hotel room, and there's like really loud music. And Maxie's like, I know you're in there. And then she breaks in with the bootleg key Spinelli made. The place is a total mess, almost like it's been ransacked. And then someone's in there making like noise and like, I don't know, somewhere where there was clanking, almost like a kitchen. It's not Claudette. It's a scary guy who looks like, I don't know, he could be one of Valentine's henchmen. And then he grabs her and covers her mouth. So I'm like, oh, this is great. Maxie is getting kidnapped. So Claudette introduces Charlotte to Griffin, and I'm like, poor Charlotte, like, this poor girl. Now I know why she's so sad. She's probably met, like, 5 other fathers in her life. She doesn't even know. Like, it just, oh, I feel so bad for her. Ava tells Sonny that he needs time to grieve and heal, and he's like, fine, go spend 5 minutes upstairs. Like, whatever. But, okay, anyway. So, Morgan still had some medication in his room. So, Ava, goes into Morgan's room, and then she gets the pills, but she drops them, and they slide under the bed, so she's on the floor, she's like reaching under the bed, and then Nell catches her, and I was like, yes, Nell, oh my god, yes, Nell. I officially, you know what, shadiness aside, like, you know what, Nell, new favorite character. If Nell's the one who takes Ava down, Nell can literally do no wrong for the rest of the time she's on the show. I don't care if she, like, is the next serial killer. I'll be like, you know what, Nell took Ava down. So, thank you so much for watching today's recap. I will see you tomorrow for more General Hospital, and I hope you have a great night. Bye!